Thanks for joining me, Daniel. I would love for you to tell me your life story from your earliest memory all the way until present day.
It's going to be hard. Geez, I can't work out how far back I can go. I suppose the earliest memories I have, I can't even really recall. But I suppose from what I mean, my parents have told me when I was young, I was a great early as a very young child. I was great, but then as I got older, I became more and more of a little bit of a terrorist, and pretty much whatever they said, I would just do the opposite. I honestly I can't remember from 0 to 5. I don't even really recall much. But yeah, the biggest thing that it's always sort of carried true with me is my parents always said like they'd be like, "Oh, let's put this on and get dressed. It's cold outside," and I'd refuse and say, "No, I want shorts and t-shirt." So I think that's very much carried through to sort of who I am now and helps sort of explain who I am as a person and also in my business or career. Um, I think yeah, one of the biggest things is that my parents would say whatever they would ask me to do at that age, I'd always just do the opposite, and they'd always say, "No, I'm doing it sort of my way or the highway." So I caused them a little bit of grief. But then as I got older, into my, I think, yeah, but just before the age of 10, I do remember a bit of that. I was very sports mad. I think when I was 5 or 6, I got into AFL. I only played AFL for a season, and then I transitioned to soccer. I can't recall why, but I love pretty much every sport. I was a massive into sport, and soccer is what I did non-stop. That's all I watched, all I did. And then at the same time, did surf club as any sort of young kid who lives in Perth or in Australia. You've got an affinity to the ocean, so you're always in the water. So I got very heavily involved into surf club and swimming and whatnot. But soccer was always my sort of go-to thing from my earliest memories. And all of my earliest memories are real sports driven. That's sort of, I think, I don't know, that's what was earmarked in my brain as the things I enjoyed. But that's what I was always so heavily involved in up until I think 10. I think from 10 till 15, I was soccer and sports mad. I got into surfing and bodyboarding, and it was bodyboarding, surfing, and soccer for my whole early teenage years. That's all I mean, I can recall parts of school, but it was the same sort of sentiment. I remember being at school, my biggest thing was not listening to teachers and sort of trying to defy and be defiant to sort of being told told what to do. But yeah, I always recall again applying myself as best as possible and doing the best I could. But I just didn't like being told what I couldn't do. Like if I was told I couldn't do a certain thing, I'd really go out of my way to try and do that, which again is definitely something that's carried through with me now. But in early high school, what's that, 13 to 15 or so, I do recall, obviously, I recall high school clearly. Obviously, I was very sports mad, but I was one of those youngsters who hit puberty late, so I was a little ankle biter getting around school and terrorizing as many of the boys and teachers as I could. And I remember one thing, I was obviously surfing a lot of the time and had long blonde hair, as every wannabe surfer did in those years. And I clearly remember the teachers always like, "You got to cut your hair," and I was like, "Nah, nah," and then they were going to suspend me, and I wanted to get suspended. And then my mum was like, you don't have to cut your hair." So she just went to the school and was like, "We pay fees. He's not cutting his hair." So then I was just getting around school. I think that sort of made me think I was a lot bigger, even bigger than I was. Just sort of being like, "Nah, mate, I'm not cutting that hair, teacher. You get on your bike." Maybe who knows? Is that a positive or a negative? Probably not in the long run. It's probably not the best thing. But yeah, it's added very much to my attitude now. People tell you can't do stuff, and you sort of go ahead and do it. But as I continued in high school, my parents separated. I think when I was in year year eight. So what's that, 13? So I remember that vividly. I suppose that as every young kid or anyone, their parents separating is a big life moment. So that's where, again, my life was still so sports driven. My parents were separated. I was more with my mum. And then I would obviously still see my dad all the time, but I was very much more, again, school and sport was my focus. And obviously my dad was working nonstop. So mum got the gig of taking us to and from school and then to and from sport nonstop. So she became our sort of chauffeur, which was cool. But that's where I sort of noticed again, as you got a little bit older and older, sports obviously is, I think, the dream of every young Australian or every young kid. A lot of kids all around the world, and not everyone makes it. Unfortunately, that was always what I thought. Thought I was going to be a professional football player or soccer player, sorry, for a long, long time. So I think I got to about 16 or 17. I had the realization, like, fuck, maybe I'm not going to play for Manchester United. That was a harsh reality to take on. But then as I sort of finished up I kept playing soccer till about 19, I'd say. But yeah, went through some time where obviously when I didn't make it, I hated the sport. I took some time off, didn't watch it, didn't involve myself with it at all. Obviously because I was sort of disgusted that I never made it. But then a few years later, got very heavily back into it, watching it and being a part of it. Because obviously football or soccer is such a cultural thing. It's not just playing. Obviously, there's the footballing kits and the aesthetic and all of the boots and whatnot, besides just the sport. So for me, it was a massive part of my life, and still is to this day. I still very much like all of the culture associated to the sport. But then from there, I got into fighting or martial arts, which my brother had done from when we were younger, and I just never sort of got into it. But then, obviously, as everyone wants to beat the shit out of their older brother, so that's where I think I got it from. So I got into that. Did that for quite a few years, and again, as every sport you do, you think you're going to be the best. So I had a couple of little fights, thought I was going to be in the UFC. And then around this time was when I was at university and had the idea of starting a business. So as anyone who's got a business knows, it's not the easiest thing. And when you're trying to do a sport, have a social life, and do all the sort of these things at one, things have to be sacrificed and go. So for me, it was all, I was 18, 19, 20, 21, I think, is when I was training and fighting at a very, very low level competitively. And you obviously, as with everyone, you think you're the best, you think you're the greatest, you get a little bit of a chip on your shoulder. But then, yeah, when the business came along, I sort of got to the point where I was like, oh, I can't be having these little fictional fights thinking I'm going to make this into a career. So I made the choice to stop competing. I obviously still kept training, but my focus became on business. And I think that very much links back to some of the things of my childhood or growing up. Like I was very much not fixated on things, but once I was like, oh, I'm going to do something, I'd sort of go all into it. It's like with bodyboarding or surfing or soccer or fighting or now the business. When I started it, I was just like ADHD, just like, oh, I've got to do it. I've got to get fully involved and entrench myself in what I was doing. So it's just, yeah, things fall off over time. Like obviously all the things I've been so dedicated or into, they've obviously changed over time, as with everyone. As you grow up and you realize your priorities. So as it got to the business, that became my pure focus. But I think everything from my childhood and university and school sort of led me to where I got to that point of starting the business, because I was a very, very hard worker. If it was sport or school or whatever, I was never the best at anything, but I'd work hard. Like if it was soccer, I was never the best soccer player, but I'd run and I had good cardio, so I could keep going. If it was school, I was never book smart, but I just rote learn. So year 12 was me just memorizing stuff and getting a very good TER, or it's now called ATAR in WA, the end exam result. Got an extremely good exam result. And I reckon I walked out of those exams and couldn't remember one thing. And that's just, again, I was like, I know I'm not the smartest, I'm not the best, so I just got to do whatever works for me to get over that hurdle and then get to the next hurdle. And that's what I'd sort of always try to do when I was young, is work out what's the best, easiest and most efficient way to get there. And for school, it was that. It was like, cool, how can I collaboratively learn, or in other words, cheat to get where I want. And again, I mean, you go through so many different stages in life. At school, you think teachers are these big, powerful, know-all people. And then obviously when you get a little bit older, you realize, unfortunately, that's not the case whatsoever. But it's obviously going through these stages of life and understanding them. You can have people tell you something. And then now, obviously, as I'm a little bit older, I can look back on my life and be like, yep, I know exactly what they were talking about. Or I know exactly what I'm going to tell my children, because I vividly remember all of the stuff that I did through this period. Like even when I've done a few talks at universities and schools. I'm like, man, I'm not much older than you guys. I vividly remember when I was sitting in your seat, because I know when any guest speaker came in, I'd be like, oh, shut up. Like it's another suit coming in to tell me what to do. But that was always sort of the mindset I had throughout school or sport. And then it got to me at the point where I obviously finished university, or I was getting to the point of finishing university, and then you have to sadly realize you are unfortunately an adult at that stage. So it's like, what is my life now? Like at the time I was finishing university and I was still living at home, partying as much as I could, just mooching off my parents as much as I could. And then you get to the point, it's like, man, I'm actually an adult now. I'm not a child, which is a sad realization when the life of privilege we all happen to live here pretty much in Australia. I got to the point where I was like, man, what am I going to do? Like a lot of my friends, I mean, I did really well at school, but then university, I sort of coasted as much as I could, and I got the marks I needed to, but that's when you experience alcohol, girls, going out and partying and whatnot. But I was like, man, all my friends were trying to get into the big four or these accounting and I was like, man, what is, like, I was wearing a suit to work. That's just crazy. So as I was sort of getting towards the end of my degree, I was still lost as to like, what am I going to do? I have no idea how this degree is going to apply, and I'm going to be in the real world, going into the city and working at a banking or like something like that. It made no sense to me. And I think I just was like, oh, I don't know what am I going to do? Like I always had an idea of like, cool, I wanted to get into a business or a clothing or a brand. But because when I was all my younger years, I was so sports driven, my focus was on how I was going to be in sports involved to a degree. So it was only as I got to 18, 19, 20, 21, I was like, okay, well, that's not really reality. I don't want to be a physio rubbing dudes on the sideline. That's not my ideal sort of position. And that's where then I obviously didn't really know anything about business besides through my parents and my dad. So yeah, I was like, oh, sales and marketing. When I was at university, I didn't know what sales. I mean, I was like, is that just you sell something to someone? So I did a marketing and management degree at university. As I mean, everyone, if you don't know what you're going to do, you go do a business degree. It's the most generic thing you can do. So I did that, and that was cool. Again, it gave me like sort of the foundation, I suppose, to get where I am now. I don't remember one thing that I learned at university. All I remember is the same as school, is reading textbooks and then collaboratively learning as much as I could, which is, again, hey, that's a real life skill. How well can you work with people? You get resources from them, you give them resources. I suppose that's a one cool takeaway. But yeah, from university, I sort of got to the point where I was like, man, maybe I can start a business. Like I did an entrepreneurship unit. We had to do a business plan and start a fictional business. So that gave me sort of the idea to sort of look into, again, where I am now. But I look back in that exact unit, I remember vividly we had to write a business plan and build a fake business. And I still remember, I think I got 66% for that one assignment, which I've never forgotten. So it set me, maybe that set me on my way. I think I'm doing a little bit better than 66% now. But that was something cool. Like I look back, I remember at the start of the business, because I had to get a loan, I wrote a business plan. I remember 6 months after the business had started, I was like, wow, that business plan doesn't make sense at all. So it just shows how quickly things change and how outdated textbook learning can be when you actually have to do it, that you've got real money and you have to get real life experience. I just watched my whole world change. I went from obviously thinking, yeah, cool, this is the framework I'm given, this is the framework, and this is the textbook, this is what it says to do, this is how I write a business plan, this is how I set things up. Okay, cool. I've written in my business plan, that didn't work, that didn't happen. What do I do now? The textbook doesn't tell you what A, B, C, D, E, F, G are. Unfortunately, that's a real life experience, sort of journey you've got to go on. So for me, it was cool to experience that, because it was just so interesting to watch how immediately, the business plan just went out the window. How I went from thinking, oh, yep, I've written this business plan, cool, that's all I got to do. All I got to do is follow that. And that unfortunately was not the case. I wish it was that, because especially now with ChatGPT, I could just say what I want to do and then I'd follow that. But sadly, that's not the case. And I think I was just so immature at the time. I still am, to be honest. But back then it was when I would have started the business when I was 20. And again, it's like a child. I was living at home. I was playing as much FIFA as I could. I was training. I was living like a bum. And you think you're going to start a business. It's like, it's not the real world. Unfortunately, I mean, very, very fortunately, I was given a great life by my parents who came to Australia from South Africa. They went through the hardship so I could have the cushy life. But it was very interesting because again, when you're that age, again, we've got I mean, a lot of us here in Australia are very lucky to have, again, it is a life of privilege. So for me, it was when I was that age, again, you haven't seen the world, you haven't experienced what reality is. So I was just a dumb young kid thinking, oh, that's be fucking easy. It's not going to be hard. So I started the business and made absolutely zero money, still playing FIFA, training with my mates. And again, yeah, we would just play FIFA downstairs. I'd do a couple of hours work a day, go to training, and just repeat that cycle. And I was sort of just like, oh, this isn't, no wonder I'm making no money because I'm not really doing any work. So that was what are we now? 2026, that would have been 2011. So yeah, this will be, the end of this year will be 15 years of the business, which to me is psycho. But yeah, I look back to then, it was like 2011, with the end of 2011 is when I started it. So I think it was about September in 2011. Because when I had the idea, me and one of my other mates from uni prior to the business, we used to buy fake NBA caps and NBA jerseys, which we thought were real, just from some Chinese website that's now shut down. And we just buy them. And then there was another guy on Facebook Marketplace selling some. Facebook, not Marketplace, sorry, just Facebook. Facebook Marketplace didn't exist back then. He would sell some hats. So originally we bought some off him, and I was like, fuck, he's from Perth and he's doing that. We can just do it. We're younger and cooler. We can do it easier. So we found a jersey website. We were all playing NBA Live at the time. NBA was sort of big for us at the time, so we were buying a bunch of snapbacks and jerseys, and we sold a few. I've actually still got a box of hats at our warehouse that I'll never ever throw out because of the memory that's there. That would have been mid 2011. And what are we now? Yeah, so 15 years later, I've still got those caps. So if anyone wants vintage snapbacks, I've got a box full of them at home. Yeah, I've just kept that as a reminder, and it's like you go head over heels into things with no thinking. So for me, it's a good reminder today. I still do that, and I think that's obviously definitely where we've got to where we are because of that train of thought. But also, I've lost a bit of money over the time because of that, diving head first into things without any sort of thought process or being risk averse. But I suppose you do need a bit of that to get obviously to where I am. I think is a cool point. But again, I wish I could be way further ahead. And I know there's a lot of people in business who are far, far further ahead than me. But for us, and obviously my story is my story, and that's what, again, we focus so much on. The business is our story as a business, as opposed to how do we look at competitors or how do we look at other people. It's like, I love the analogy of like the tortoise and the hare, because I always look at it's taken us so long to get here, and still it feels like we're just starting. And I literally say every anniversary of the business I say it, and I'm like, fuck, I wonder when this is going to get old. Like, as in when me saying, oh, I think the first year is going to get old. Like, I vividly remember for the 10-year, I was like, oh, it's the 10-year anniversary, but I just removed the 0, and it's like the first year. But now, even the 15th year, I'm like, fuck, it still feels like I still feel like we're at the starting point. We're not even anywhere close to where I want to be. So I suppose I think that's the mindset you need. As long as you're constantly, you want to be involved, you want to do more. And I look at that across the sports I played, school, university, or business now. It's like, whilst you've got that attitude, you've got to make the most of it, and you've got to be involved. Because I know with soccer or martial arts, especially university and school, like when you get to the point when you don't want to be involved. Like I remember when I had one of my last competitive fights, I remember it's a memory I've never forgotten. Obviously it was fighting at a amateur level, so it's nothing special. But I just remember the fight in like slow motion because I was like, I just don't want to be here. The whole fight, I was just like this, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? Obviously when you win, it's amazing, it's sick. Like the whole, like I remember the fight in slow motion, like from the positional changes. I did end up winning, which was cool, but I still have never ever forgotten the feeling, and I'm just like, I have no enjoyment whatsoever from this. The only enjoyment I got is the ego when you get your hand raised and you think you're the man. But that's very short term, a short term win for a lot of effort. So for me, it just wasn't worth the effort, and I wasn't fully entrenched in doing that. I didn't want to completely do that. So it's like, why are you doing something you don't want to be all in? You can't succeed in any sport or business if you're not all in, because you'll come up against someone who is. And if it's a sport like a fighting, you get smoked. If it's football, they'll be a fitter, better, technically better runner. They'll be better everywhere. They're going to be stronger. They're going to be in the gym all the time. And in business, it's going to be someone who's going to work harder, someone who's going to work smarter, someone who's going to have more money, someone who's going to have more connections. Like there's so many different avenues you can go down. So I think that mindset is a big and important thing, because there's always going to be someone better than you. To be the very, very best in the world is something that so few of us alive on this planet will ever experience. And again, the people who do experience, it's fleeting. To get to the top is hard, to stay there's even harder. So for us, I love looking at that from a business perspective, because obviously I've done it for so long now. I've seen so many people come and go. If it's staff or friends, from the business perspective, competitors, suppliers, friends, allies, or whatever you want to fucking call them. I've seen so many people come and go. You've seen the new brand that's going to be the next big thing that goes away. You've seen the trends. Obviously, over a 15-year time span, when we started, there wasn't even Instagram. There wasn't obviously TikTok, which to me is insane. Like that world seems like an eternity ago, but it's not that long ago now. So for us, looking like back over that time period, which I never really do. I never sit back and reflect on my life. I never sit back and reflect on what I did as a kid, or how things have shaped me, who I am. I know that's a big thing that people like talking about now with mental health and therapy and all that sort of stuff. I'm very much like, oh, I'm going forward. I don't like looking back. I've fucked up that many things. Been broke. Thought the business is going to end every second day. I've always had these things happen. I've had massive nightmares, catastrophes, lost friends, lost staff members, lost brand deals, collaborations, things that you think are going to change the business thing. You think, oh, this person's going to leave, the business is going to end. I've had all of that. So I'm so used to just go forward. Like that, the business isn't going to end. But it's like that sinking feeling you always get. It's just like it comes down to managing, I suppose, your nervous system, really, like getting used to how long can you survive the stress, because I think that's the competition at hand, is how long can you be under pressure. Because anyone can look good over a year. If it's sport, anyone can look good in one fight. Anyone can look good in one soccer game, one AFL game. One season, same thing. You can do it. Can you do it consistently over years? And again, if it's now, so social media is an easy thing to use as an analogy now, because everyone looks at like a metric, or what's your engagement? How many views are you getting? Cool, it's easy to get into, it's very easy to get into that train of thought for the short term, because you can say, oh, cool, look, I've helped this person, they've got X amount of views over 30 days. Man, there's so many other factors at hand. Like if you look at something, if you want to sort of review something and summarize something over a short period of time, the data and the evidence that you present is never going to be strong enough, because it's such a short term or such a small sample size. Whereas if you can do it over 15 years, the evidence is there. Hey, there's some fucking form of a success here. Not, hey, for 30 days we did X amount of sales. Cool, can you do that for the next 5 years? How can it get better every month? So even now, like I get people talk shit to me all the time. Oh, we're fucking doing this. We're going to fucking do this. We're doing this. I just sit there. I like listening to people tell me, oh, yeah, we're going to do fucking, we're going to beat you. This is what we're going to do. We're going to get this collab. Cool. Good luck. I mean, that's the thing, is everyone talks. I've heard so many times about who's going to be the next big brand. Who's going to work with this athlete. Who's going to get this collaboration. 5%, or not even 5% of the time it fucking happens. I love just people for some reason, I mean, obviously I'm outspoken on the internet, so you're always going to get it. It's part of being on the internet. People are just, the internet is a blessing and a curse. You see just the best of society, which is amazing to see, and you see the top 1% in their lives and people's success, which is great. But it also brings out the underbelly and the reptiles of the world, and you see just weirdos. And I get people, yeah, they'll show me their sales numbers or what they're doing, and I'm like, yeah, cool. Aim higher, bro. Look at Nike. Aim for what they're doing. I'm not the pinnacle or the benchmark. There's always someone bigger and better. So it's like, even with dealing with that, it's like it all links back to the idea of how well can you manage stress and how well can you keep and stay under pressure and keep going, because you got to be obsessed with it. And I suppose it's like what I was saying before, is all the things I've sort of always been involved in. I've become like ADHD. Like I'm not diagnosed or anything like that, but to me, I'm like become fixated on things. It's like I've had 14 fucking coffees and just want to keep doing it. Like if I haven't posted a video, or if I haven't done a new shoot, or if we haven't got a new design, I'm like wigging out. Which the way I sort of analyze that is, to me, is it shows that I still want to be involved. It shows that to me it means something, that I still want to sort of keep going and do stuff. So that's what I become so fixated on. But it's for me, everything has always been like, I suppose with sport, school, my parents separating, which I suppose was a big thing in my life, to now is managing your emotions, which I'm still not very good at. Like even when we're here obviously in Sydney for a pop-up, I still have the thoughts, what if no one comes? Every pop-up, I've done this for so long, I've done so many. Like I remember we did one in New York in November. We had 2 of the athletes we work with there. And I was like, fuck, imagine if no one comes. They're going to be like, oh, this is a cool pop-up. And lo and behold, there was about a 400-person line. So you always have these things where it's like, what if it goes wrong? What if we do this drop and nothing sells? What if I give this supplier $250,000 and they go out of business and they lose that $250,000? It's just constantly managing risk. And I suppose that managing risk comes to sort of managing relationships, and managing relationships comes down to managing yourself. Because if you're a freak or a reptile and you can't sort of manage yourself, managing those external relationships, if you don't have your internal under control, which I don't necessarily have under control, but the external stuff becomes very hard, because you realize very quickly in business, money changes people. Yeah, money ruins people. Money ruins lives. And again, people think that's not, like, it's not, oh, you're lending your mate $5 and then they're not going to pay you back. And when it becomes larger sums of money, you watch people's characteristics and existence change. And I've had friends, I've lost friends, I've had suppliers fuck me over. I mean, I can't say I've fucked anyone over, but in terms of, yeah, we had a long-term supplier originally in India, and we worked there for 5 to 6 years, and that didn't end badly, but I just experienced sort of a way that I wouldn't want to be treated. When you're paying someone for a service or a product, you expect a relative level of product and a consistency of that product. So when that consistency stops and the product you're purchasing isn't what you thought you were purchasing, obviously the relationship needs to change. And now we've been for a long time with China. And again, even with that relationship, there's always going to be problems with any long-term relationship. It's consistency is great, but you're always going to have issues. There's always going to be quality controls issues. And again, same as the personal relationship with someone. Every relationship with someone is not going to be high all the time. You're going to have low points. There's going to be points of disagreement and whatnot. So again, I suppose it links to that ideology of people on a personal level, and if you're not internally aligned with your own self, how on earth are you going to maintain external relationships? So I always think about that, and again, it's entrenched in our business, from our staff to the people we work with to what the brand outputs and what the brand all sort of shows as values. Because for me, for so long, another reason I get so excited about the business, and I suppose life too, because for so long I did the business not knowing what it was. And same with me, like as being myself, I didn't know what that means. And I was content with myself. But obviously, you don't, like, if you can't define who you are or what, like, why you're doing what you're doing, then it's hard. How can you sell something to someone if you don't even know why you're doing it? The what's easy, like it's a tangible thing. So for me, a few years ago, especially for the business, we put together, me and a couple of the boys at the business put together sort of what the business is and why it is that and why it sort of exists. And that became a lot easier for me to sort of explain why I'm doing what I'm doing. And it was a great exercise to work out why the business, because for so long, things would work. So while things are going well, it's great. You need to work out what you've done to get there, why you did that, and then why you're going to keep going forward. And then on a personal level, I suppose you've got to be happy with who you are. If that's how you look, how you feel, all those things, you've got to work out what those things are and why you are who you are. That's, I think, a big thing, especially because in business, obviously, one of the main things for me is you've got to be a good person. And to be a good person, I suppose you can't really be a good person if you don't have any understanding of who you are or why you are like that. Because I've seen it so many times in business where you know someone because you work together. The second they don't work there, you're no longer friends. So you're never really friends. It was a transactional relationship. So for a big thing for us has always been about, or obviously the things we do with the business and the people we align with, is making sure there is a real sort of relationship there and it's not just something transactional, which is a very hard thing to do because as you obviously get older and the stakes become higher, you've got less resources to allocate. So you can't just bring on everyone, go on these trips. You can't just bring everyone. It's picking out, cool, what are the things that represent what we're trying to do here as a business, as people, as a brand, and how can we sort of portray our internal values to the external market or our customers, I say. So it is an interesting, I mean, it's like a web. It's a never ending. You can just talk about a thing non-stop because everything's so intertwined. So for me, I like to sort of think everything I've been through or done as a person is what translates into sort of the business, where the business is now. And I suppose for me, as I've sort of got older and grown up, it's been important trying to sort of distinguish myself from the business and not just be like, all I am is this t-shirt. Like, I am a real person too. I do have feelings. I do have interests. Like, my life is I love the business and is very much involved in the business, but I do have interests outside. I have a family. I do have a life. It is again, it's as you get older and you realize these things. When you're young, it's just partying, drinking, going with the flow. But as I've got older, it's like you have certain realizations trying to work out your priorities. And again, like I said, with the business, you've got a certain amount of resources. You can only allocate them X, Y, Z. I've got a family now. I've got a child, which to me is wild. You have to work out your time. Like, you can't do everything in a day. If I want to work for 10 or 11 hours, you've got a couple hours there with your child and family. What else do you do? You've got to work out how you're going to allocate those resources to your day. And then that obviously compounds over a week, a month, year. So those are all things that I've always trying to sort of think about and get better at, because you obviously, I know when I was, from what I do remember from childhood, is my dad worked non-stop. So I think obviously that work ethic I've got very much comes from there, because my dad, I remember he would leave at 7 a.m. and he'd get home at 7 p.m. and my mum would be looking after us. So that's, again, one of my earliest memories of what working is. Which, again, obviously the modern day work is, people try and work as little as fast as every course seller online now is the 4-hour work week, or work as little as possible. So I suppose the biggest thing for me is what I vividly remember is how much my dad would work. So for me, that's always been not necessarily the smartest thing, but I've always been like, cool, put in more hours. But as I've sort of got older, it's like, cool, as much as I want to put in more hours, how can I make sure those hours are actually valuable and not just me sitting at my fucking computer and wasting time? Because unfortunately, when I want to train jiu-jitsu, or I want to go for a run or go to the gym, or if I want to watch a movie, or if I want to do something fun, once I got the work done, so I'm not just sitting on my phone getting ADHD. Like I mean, not so much now. When I was younger, I'd wake up every night and check my phone. Every night I'd wake up and check my email, and that was for years of the business. But when I was single, before the boss came along, but when I was younger, yeah, I remember I would wake up every night because I dealt with a lot of US suppliers who were brands that we'd buy off, and I'd always get so excited to see if they'd replied. So I'd wake up every night and just check my email. And now with all of the neurologists and sleep doctors are on all these podcasts, apparently that's quite bad. But yeah, I never knew that. I mean, I never really thought that much into life or anything like that, or health. I never put any emphasis into that. And I don't think many of us did, obviously, purely considering what the world was 10 years ago, 15 years ago to now. Things have changed dramatically. So for me, I suppose now it comes down to, we still do so much. Again, I suppose it comes to just trying to sort of work out how to allocate those resources within the business and be, whilst also being risk averse and not just taking dumb risks and gambling nonstop. I definitely do that a lot and spend a lot of the business's money on things that don't have much thought. But that's also what's got us here. Sometimes, like some of the decisions we'll really try to get a bit more data driven, project numbers and work out sort of what's done really well to get us here. Other decisions is, fuck, I want to do that. Which is, again, a blessing and a curse. Hey, it's hit sometimes. It's also failed miserably sometimes. But it's just getting used to that, and it's sort of repetitions and the kind of consistency of sort of operating the way I do. It's got to be the point where I'm pretty confident in specific things I'm good at. It's like when I was playing soccer, I was confident because I did that quite often. Now, not so much. Fighting when I was younger, yes, very confident. Now, not as much, sadly. But with the business, I do that every day. It's like, it's what I know. So it becomes, to me, it's quite easy to spend 250K on something, or go on a pop-up trip and spend 40K in a week. Like, those things aren't that hard. And they're not, again, on the scale of the world, it's irrelevant. There's so many bigger businesses, there's so many people doing it better. Then if no one cares. Like, I think everyone's so, myself included, everyone's so worried about what the world's going to perceive. It's like, you just got to go and do it. And I think that's been one of the things that sort of got us to where we are now, and me to where I am with the business, is there's been less of thought about what could go wrong. It's like, cool, now this is going to work. This is going to go forward, and this is going to get us to where we want to be. So that's been a cool thing. To experience that is a great feeling, because unfortunately a lot of people live by just, they'll coast through life and they'll do the basic, what their job entails. They'll go home at 5 p.m, which some people are fine with that. But for me, and I suppose for anyone in business, or anyone, if it's a sport or dedicating their life to something, it's a cool experience, because to me, it's a little bit different than your usual job. Like, I don't look at this as a job at all, really. Like, I never feel like, oh, fuck, I have to get up and go to work on Monday. But then on Sunday, when I'm working all day, I'm also like, oh, fuck, it's Sunday. I'm at work. It's like, I'm just sitting at a computer coming up with ideas, really. It's not rocket science. And again, my business is not solving world problems. So you can never get too serious with it, and you always got to be pretty tongue-in-cheek and have fun. And I think that's sort of something I've been able to sort of keep alive, because I know when I was playing sport, I fucking never had fun. Like, when I was playing soccer, the game days, I'd never had fun. It was not fun at all. I wanted to win. When I was fighting, it was the least fun thing I've ever fucking done in my life. It was like, how can I get in and out as quick as possible and not think about it, and then win, and then be happy and post a photo about it. That was like, that's what my sport was like. I would get so worked up and nervous that, to me, everyone was like, man, you should go out there and have fun. I'm like, this fucking sucks, bro. It's not fun at all. And even like soccer, which is there's no risks, or the stakes aren't high, I would still get, I would not so nervous, but like, while I'm playing, I'm not thinking, fuck, this is so good, I don't want it to end. I'm like, I just want to have a great performance, play well, and win and be done. I want the game to end. Whereas the business has never really been like that. It's more so I'm enjoying the whole process. I do obviously have bits of nerves where it's coming up to a release or a pop-up, I'm like, fuck, is this going to go well? If it doesn't go well, is this going to end? Is this going to be our last release? So that's something I've always grappled with over time, is sort of how to manage what I am doing and what sort of I am and how my output is, and the same with the business.
I'm really curious to know, like, just after listening to a bit of your childhood and your love for football, and you were talking about like the players' kits
Yep.
and culture and community, and then you speak about your parents divorcing, and I'm really curious to know, with everything you're building with StreetX,
Yep.
do you feel like it's something to do with like building community, like because your designs are so you guys, like they're so individual, they're like you know, they're not a generic, you guys don't create generic clothing.
Correct.
You create very like cool cultural clothing, and I like, do you think that part of what you're doing is building culture around you?
Yeah, for sure. Like I know, I mean, especially what we sort of did as a business a few years ago is we sort of try to work out why the business is what it is. And we built out a few business values with me, the creative director, the general manager at the time, and then all of the staff. Again, you can't do these things by yourself, because if it was me, I'd fucking write 3 lines on a scrap piece of paper, like, yep, this is it, let's go, boys, and rush through it. But obviously it was great having the team of guys around to do it and sort of put things in place. And one of the biggest one of the 3 pillars was community first. We always call it community first, community always. And again, I hate the industry I'm in because that word is used as a buzzword. Like, people will put it in captions, put it on posts. Yeah, we're about community. As soon as you have to say you're about community, you're not, bro. It's like, you don't have to say it. If you're about community, people will tell you you're about community. And I think that's been the biggest thing for us in terms of the word community, or anything community related, or anything in business in general. Your customers will tell you what you are, and you'll get a very quick sense of what you are. You'll get people wanting to be around, or you'll get absolutely fucking no one wanting to be around. And I suppose for us, the big thing, obviously sports, growing up, obviously for family, for me, was a sticking point with my parents separating. But then obviously sports is such a community-driven thing, so maybe subconsciously it's me trying to bring my family back together, and that's why I'm so sort of interested in community. But I think I'm just always been a people person. I don't care if you're whatever you look like. If you've got fucking 14 legs, you've got 3 heads, you're black, white, green, pink, whatever you are. One of the biggest things for me as a person is I'll treat you the same as another person. And that's what we've always tried to entrench in the business. Anyone who is working at the store, I don't care who comes in, you treat them the same. You say, hello, what's up? How's your day been? If it's a celebrity, it's a homeless person, whatever it might be, comes through the doors. They buy $3,000 worth of stuff. Cool, you still treat them the same as if they don't. Like, again, obviously those bigger spenders or whatever it might be get more attention because they're there for longer. But if someone comes in and goes, oh, fuck you, and walks out and says goodbye, I mean, you say hello and goodbye. Get rid of your ego, suck your pride up, do the right thing. And I think that's always sort of what I've tried to do. Again, to me, I think it's linked from my time to sport, because when you're there, you're trying to kill someone. The second you finish, it's a game. Like, I know with soccer, I was trying to break every cunt's leg when I was tackling them. Fighting's obviously, fighting is what it is. You're trying to fucking blow their head off. But the second it finishes, it's over. There's no, like, it's not about you. It's about the sport. And I think that's the same with business and community. Again, it's like, what we're trying to do is sort of the feeling I have when I wear the product we make is I feel like the best version of myself. So it's how can we extend that feeling to other people? There's always sort of been the idea, and how can I make, on a personal level for me, is how can I make you have the feeling I've got right now? So we've always tried to sort of extend that, and if that's through the product we make, the experience we try to set up at a store, or the events we do. Again, we get people come to the store or whatever we do, the events, all the time that don't buy stuff. You still give them the same experience, because you never know who you're talking to. That person might come back in 6 months and buy one thing. That person might tell one person to buy something in a year's time. Like, you don't just treat people like based on your experience. Again, you try to be nice to everyone and give people the same experience. Because now, especially with social media, everyone has a perception of everyone, and then you meet certain people and you're like, oh wow, you're not what I thought you were going to be at all. And then that sort of links to one of the next business sort of pillars we had is being unapologetically yourself. And to me, that links very much heavily to the community thing, and what I went through school and sport and my family separating is one of the biggest thing that was instilled in me is be yourself and do what you want to do. And that sort of carried through now to the business to where we're at. And I think that's such an important thing because, again, you can be whoever you want to be. It's up to you. You can be whoever you want to be on the internet. It's just making sure that you're authentic with it. So if you are an outgoing lunatic on the internet or in group scenarios, if you're by yourself, you should be the same. There's not just fake personalities or persona. It gets picked up very quickly on a personal level, and then I think on a business level too. So for us, one of the most important things is sort of being authentic and being who you want to be, because I think, again, community is a byproduct of that. For us, I look for on a personal perspective outside of business, is I've always been people orientated. When I was a young kid at school and sport, I was always the kid yapping in someone's ear or bantering or doing things I shouldn't have been doing, but I've been like that since I was a kid. And again, anyone I went to school with, anyone I knew when I was younger, they say he's a little obnoxious little cunt. I know. I've always been like that, and I still am to this day. I'm cheeky. I like getting the word in there, but that's who I am. And again, that's instilled through the business and now social media and all that sort of stuff. But it's fun, and that's what I've always been like. So again, it's consistency and consistently doing something. Obviously, you're always going to change to a degree, but I think if you know you are and you've got a sort of foundation of who and what you are and why you are like that, it's pretty easy to maintain that because you know why. And then lastly, one of the other, without going down to a business fucking curriculum, but the last values was sort of linked, again, I sort of use these even on a life level now, is the pursuit of perfection. And no one will ever be perfect. Like I said before, to be in that top 1% or 0.001%, which is sort of the world champions are, it's impossible. Realistically, none of us will ever experience that. And you've got to be fine with that. Because the pursuit of perfection is cool because it's something you're never going to get. So it's like, no matter how many times you fuck up, no matter how many times you succeed, you're still not where you want to be. You still can keep going and keep trying. So for us, like I look at, like again, on a business perspective, the cool thing was that New York pop-up we did, forget about it the next day. So what's the next thing? And that's very much why I've had the mindset of, oh, cool, forward, and keep going and doing more. It does get a little bit tiring sometimes, but that's like, if you sit back and reflect on everything, you're going to miss fucking everything going past you. The focus has always been, I like doing more. I like trying to always get to the next level. Who knows how long that will go for, but that's right. Always for me, or on a personal level, or if it's the team of the guys who work with us or friends, I get so excited and motivated by seeing people constantly trying to do more, because I'm like, oh fuck. See, this is the same mindset of always trying to go forward and sort of do more. And I think that's sort of been in my mind since I was young. Like I suppose it's due to watching my parents, because they always worked hard. They always encouraged hard work. And I don't really know anything else. Obviously, everyone on the internet sees people, nice cars, boats, or whatever, not working. But I don't think a lot of the stuff you see like that is not reality. And again, you see those sort of things being shown by certain people. And again, that might be the 0.001% who can do that. We live in the real world, or I live in the real world where that's not reality. So for me, it's like as long as I can sort of keep doing what I want to do and be happy with it and happy with how things are going, and we can bring people along for the ride, bring staff, customers, friends, and build our own little world, that's what's most important to me. Because again, for me, I want this to, I know it's not about my business, but the business is so aligned with sort of me as a person. I want our business to be the biggest brand in the world. And for me, I'd love to continue to grow and do more and more, and not have voices in my head every day sort of saying, you're not going to do this, you are going to do this. So again, that's like, it's a constant sort of road to improvement on a personal level for sure, because I still get anxiety about things we do. I would love to be bulletproof, but unfortunately that's not reality. You've constantly got to keep going. As soon as you next foot, just keep moving along. I've always sort of had that mentality, hey, maybe it's not the best mentality and I could do with some work on specific parts of my life or specific parts of the business, but that's sort of the world that I've always been involved with and how I've carried and managed things. But yeah, it's a cool journey to be on.
Like I guess that prompts for me curiosity around like how surrender's played a theme in your life, like starting the business off with you and the clothing. Like I guess, you know, clothing is very similar to tattoos. Like it's you know, something you wear on your body. It's a canvas for your body.
Yep.
So being someone as a kid who like you get told not what to do and then you know you go for
Yeah.
that. How have you gone dealing with surrender as you've grown the team and realized like growing the business, in order to do that you have to bring people on, in order to do that that's like surrendering some of your ideas
Of course.
to, you know, their ideas and their creative vision. How has that played a theme in you?
Yeah, I mean, that's always been something, obviously, especially being younger, you struggle with because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to run a business. I didn't know how to start a brand. I still don't know how to, I'm not the best at it. So I definitely don't know how to do everything perfectly. And one of the things, again, if it links back to sport or being told what you can't do and then be like, yeah, I can do that. I'm going to fucking do it. You have to go through those things yourself. You have to, again, if it's soccer, nah, you can't, you're not good enough. Well, I can fucking show you I'm good enough. If it's martial arts or fighting, well, you can't do that. Well, yeah, I can. I'll go fucking do it. I'll go fight that person. Those things you can actually just go and do it. And then in business, the same thing. You can just go do it and go start a business. Go try it. Do it yourself. That's why people give up so quickly, because it's very fucking hard to start something and keep it going. So for me, it was, yeah, very much for years and years of me trying to do everything myself. And I always thought if we brought more people on, like if I wasn't in the shop, we're not going to make any money. And that was such backwards thinking. I'm never, ever in the shop now, ever. Like I haven't been in the shop for years and we've made exponentially more money not being in the shop, because that's not the best use of the resource. Again, it's like, comes down to that point is you've got XYZ amount of resources, how are you going to use them? Me being in the shop was not the best use of said resources. But it's still a hard thing we struggle with now. If it's team members, it's our external brand collaborators, it's always hard. You have to go through a lot of thinking of who are the people you need. Is that person the best fit for the job? And how do you determine that? Is it their skill? Is it their personality? Is it their experience? Is it their intellectuality? What is the scoring criteria, and how do you determine that? And that's still something we struggle with to this day. You bring people in, you think they're going to be great. They're fucking not at all. But that's all part of the experience. Again, are they not great because they're not the right fit, because they're not a good person? Or is it you, me as the business, as their direct contact, am I the problem? Is there a trend of people leaving? Is there a trend of problems? Yeah, we've experienced that before, where you could say, yeah, I'm the problem. Then we've had other guys come and long-term staff members where that doesn't have the same. They don't have the same feelings. Sorry. Cool. What's gone right with them and what's gone wrong with the other guy? So it's constantly, always trying to work like that. And I've had points of the business where I've had times where I think it's going to end because staff are unhappy. You work through those things. You fix those things. When things happen though, you feel like your world's collapsing around you. You feel like everyone's leaving you, and it's like, fuck, does everyone think this about me? No, it's small things that happen within the business or on a personal level. You're always going to have to deal with them. There's never going to be perfection. Obviously you want it to be and you're striving for that, but you're always going to experience these things where you think the world's ending. And for me, at one point I had 3 to 4 guys leave at a similar time, and that was where a reflection point was like, fuck, is this shit gonna end? No, it's only gotten better and better since then. But at that time, it seems very bad, and you force yourself to think about specific things. You maybe change things, maybe you don't, maybe you're not the problem. But you've got to be the one who defines that. And then again, how can you bring on other people to help you define that without just being yes men? Because again, if you've just got a group of yes men, things are generally never going to get to that next level. So it's just always working through those sort of hoops and making sure that you can sort of as accurately as possible work through those hoops, and then bring on the right people, because that's the the problem that so many people, especially businesses, have is you've got a tyrant or a dictator at the top who surrounds themselves with yes men, and they can get to exponential places of growth and success. But if that tyrant then wants to leave, there's examples of in history where the business just collapses. It's not long-term thinking. It's not the infinite game. You're playing a very finite game. So it's very easy to just walk around with the stick all the time. You fucked up, bang. It's not really a long-term environment you want to create. It's not the most long-term game to be playing. And I've been through that so many times in my business life where I've grown up in the business. I've had things where I very much regret and how I've treated people, to things now where, cool, I did the right thing. I know what I did. Yep, did the right thing, made the right choice. And you have to be happy with those things. You're always going to make mistakes, and you're always going to have people around who things go wrong. And it could be you, it could be them, but that's just dealing with that. That's all part of growing up. So for me, that was all part of experience and being involved in that. And it's how do you manage those experiences, and then how do you manage expectations going forward? How do you keep people around you? How do you keep people around the business? What is your why? What is the reason you're doing it? And is that going to bring people together to be a part of that journey with you in the business? Because again, it's not about one singular person. It's about what the business is doing and where the business is going. It's not all these staff members like, oh, I just want to work with Dan. Fuck, I just want to be a part of what he's doing. No, that's a very, very small miniature aspect. People are why they can see what the business is doing and where it's going. They want to be a part of that. The business is the vehicle. Me as a one miniature potential driver of said business. So it's trying to create that world that you want people, you think people can align with. And again, it's not just creating something because what you think other people are going to like. It's creating something that sort of enhances why you're doing what you're doing, and that story and that world then brings other people along, hopefully, because I think that's where things become successful and people are all aligned on how we're going, why we're going somewhere. Then the how and what become a lot easier, because the how you're doing it becomes less of an issue. If you have to work 12 hours a day for 5 hours, if you know why you're doing it, you'll do it. Whereas if you're just, oi, go fucking do this for 12 hours, 5 days, and fuck that. So it's very, it's very much getting the right people involved, because you can have the right people involved to do these things. It becomes very easy, but when you have the wrong people involved, it's very, very hard. Like if you've got a bus full of 12-seater bus and you've got 10 great people and 2 really bad passengers, cool, you can relatively handle that because you've got 10 at 2. Whereas if you've got 6 bad ones, 6 good ones, it becomes a lot harder. And if you've got more bad ones and lesser good ones, it's very hard, because that, again, even when you're at the 2 negative people, that 2 negative can very much spread through the rest of the 10. And that's an issue I've dealt with before. It's an issue that everyone's dealt with before. It's friendship groups. You can have some friendship groups that dissolve and break up because of something happens with 2 people within the group, and it fragments the rest of the group. And I suppose that all links back at a foundational level to who you are as a person. How do you handle conflict? How can you handle confrontation? How do you handle dealing with, how do you treat people? Because at the end of the day, I think that's the root of all of these causes or problems, is how do you react to certain things being done to you? If you're doing certain things to someone else and they come back to you, how do you react to that? If you've been mistreating someone and they come give you evidence of what you've done and you're just like, nah, get fucked, then of course you're going to be met with issues. But then on the other hand, there's so many sides of the fence. Someone can come to you with issues. You can be too lenient in your response. You can be too hard in your response. How do you find the middle ground? I suppose that's with every relationship. There needs to be balance. It can never be, it's like the scales. They're balanced for a reason. It can never be too far left. Never be too far right. It's like the world now with politics. Things go polar left, then they go polar right. Unfortunately for the world we live in, there's not a centrist balance or a central balance, as that's what we really need. The world would be a much better place. But unfortunately, that's much like life. You very rarely get things in that central balance, and that's I suppose that's the point of perfection, right? Where you're in that umami in the middle of the circles. That's where you want to be. It's the intersection of happiness. And that's, I suppose, where you're constantly sort of striving to be, but it's just managing that constantly. If that's in the form of the business, if that's on a personal level, your relationships with your friends, family, business, how you allocate your resources, all of that links back to finding that point of sweetness, if you want to call it that.
Yeah, I guess my final question and thought would be, like 15 years on, how does it feel every day to put on your own clothing?
I mean, I still get so psyched. Like I've still got, I mean, anyone could tell you, my staff members or friends, like we get a new delivery. I'm like, give me the fucking box. I want to rip that sample box open. Like all of my staff know if they come in, if I come in and there's a delivery of samples that have been delivered and I don't get to see it, I get upset. Like I'm always messaging, show me photos. Even our suppliers, like, yeah, it's good. The sample's completed, we'll send it to you. I'm like, send me a fucking photo before you send it. I'm still like that. It's like, for me, I remember one of the vivid things of it as a child. In our one of the primary school houses, I remember every Christmas I wake up at 4 a.m. One year I remember I got an Xbox and I was fucking up at 4 a.m. opened the cuntins playing before everyone was awake. That is whenever I think of new deliveries, that's what I think of. And it's just weird. Like that is one memory that is vividly. I remember this. We moved out of this house when I would have been 12. I vividly remember the floor plan and going to get that Xbox and where the TV was and setting it up. And I'm like that with samples now. I love, yeah, I don't know. It's just, even when I see people, like if I see people out, I'm counting how many people I see. I'm still so amazed. And it's cool. Like obviously a lot of the people who buy it, they will know who I am. But when I see the people who don't buy it, I just walk past them smiling and they're just like, what is this fucking weirdo staring at us for? And that's why I find it so cool, because it's great seeing people with me, no involvement. They have no idea who I am, which is awesome. They're just buying because the business. So it's so cool seeing that. And then, yeah, seeing people with the stuff is still so exciting. Like anywhere, even if I'm at home where I see it all the time, it's so cool. And I'm like, fuck. And even if it's a young kid who's like, oh my God, Gucci smoothie, or says, like, I'm like, that's exactly what I was like when I was a kid. When I was that old in high school, I was going to the shops, I was buying stuff online, trying to have stuff that no one else had, and I was that kid. So for me, even now, it's like, we don't cater to young kids, but we make a stuff that demographic just gravitates towards. Like we never use young models, we never have anything young, teenage related. Them little fuckers love it. And the reason I'll never sort of turn my back on that is because that's what I was exactly like when I was a kid. And I never, ever want to leave that mindset as like, I want to be as young as I can for as long as I can. Like that's, I think for anyone, that is the best time of anyone's life. Like you've got unlimited freedom. I mean, obviously you've got family, so you have to be homeless, but like those sort of things. But like you've got no problems. You've got no, like when you leave school, it's like things fucked. Like you've got responsibility. When you're at school, it's like anything goes. Like it's the most, it's like obviously for a baby, that's the most beautiful point of life because you've got no issues whatsoever. Obviously, as you get older, the issues mount up and things you get, I suppose at school, maybe there's bullying or things like that, or you still have to, people try and look a certain way and dress up and all that sort of shit. But when you're at school, it's like the problems you have at life are non-existent compared to when you're adults. When you're adults, you've got so much responsibility, there's so much going on. And you're responsible, I suppose, if for a business or if you're working at a company and you're responsible for people and stuff, that becomes a thing that rests upon your shoulders. And for me, we've got multiple staff members, we've got an ecosystem that relies on the business. Again, not on a massive scale like a Nike, but it's, that brings about stress. So it's managing that stress, and then obviously how do you handle the output from there? But yeah, I suppose for me, it's still that feeling of seeing someone or a kid asking for a photo or kids posing for photos and the stuff. It's like, it's fucking sick. Like I've never lost that feeling of, oh, that's not that cool. I see it all the time. Or even for us, like I'm constantly with our main designer and our creative director, constantly working like, cool, what's the next sample? Cool, can you mock it up in this color? Can I see it? I'm still so excited to see all that stuff. So I think that sort of reflects on, again, where the business is at, where I'm at, where we can go, because there's so much drive and motivation to do more. So I suppose for me, all I look at generally is the positives. I'm much more like, cool, positive, blinkers on, let's go. Obviously, that's not their best way to think. It's always good sort of weighing up the pros and cons. And I've done so many stupid things where I'm like, yeah, it's going to be cool. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like that. But that's all part of learning and growing up. So yeah, if you don't go broke, you can still do it. Yeah. That's all that matters.
That's sick. Do you have a favorite design or a design that means the most to you?
Now, I get asked all the time, what is your favorite design, or what's the design that fucking the business took off from, or what's like it means the most? I honestly, like, I just don't think there's so many things that we've done that are cool. If it's charity releases, collaborations, or events that are on a monumental scale, but like my whole idea is always looking forward and always trying to do more. And once the collaboration's done, I'm sort of like, there's something so much better I can find. So that's what it's always been like over time, is always looking forward, which again is not the best mentality to have, because people like celebrating the wins and people want to be involved and a part of things. But I suppose if I had to look back, I mean, we've done a few cool charity things. I suppose one of the things, when I was younger, my dog died, which was like an important part of my family. We made like a ornamental incense chamber of his head, which I found was pretty cool. One of the guys I trained with when I was young had a really sick daughter, ended up tragically passing away. We made a tea, and I think we donated maybe 15 grand off the top of my head, just to the family. Was like, we're not going to give it to a charity, we'll just give it directly to a mate and his wife, and sadly the daughter passed away. That was a cool thing. I suppose anything that's had an influence on someone's life is cool to see. Like, obviously the bushfires, we raised a heap of money, but like, it's things where you see the first hand the influence it makes. Like the bushfires things is great, but you don't see where that money goes. The thing with my mate and his daughter was cool. Do you see how it helps that family? To as simple as something as a generic t-shirt, you see the kid get and smile. That's just as effective to raising $100,000 for the bushfires, because like that shit, you don't see where it's going to go. It's probably lost in the fucking government. For all you know it, and that's unfortunately that's how a lot of charities that work these days. It's all about sort of seeing the reaction of certain people and getting a reaction. Again, be it negative or positive. If you get one positive reaction, that's all that matters. That's the coolest thing, I think, still to this day, is again, like, especially when we do these pop-ups, you see how psyched these adult males are, and women and kids. That's exactly like I was when I was a kid. Like, I remember when I was 15, my mum took me and her to New York, and I was a kid, and I learned how to ride the subway, and I went to the store I wanted to go to, and there was a store called A-Life, which is now defunct. It was a famous New York brand. And I worked out how to get the subway, caught a subway there, and I was 5'5", I remember, in high school. Hadn't hit puberty yet, was a little fucking young cunt ready to go. And I went to A-Life, and I still remember there was this fucking unfriendly woman working there. And I was like, I tried on like everything in the store, and she was so fucking off it. And I bought, I ended up buying, I bought one t-shirt and a hat. That's all I had enough money for. And I remember I was 5'5", and I bought the t-shirt was an XL, because I was like, I can't grow out of this. And she was like, you're not an XL, you should be a small. And I was like, nah, I'm on the XL. And like, she was just disgusted. And I bought an XL t-shirt and then a New Era fitted hat, the only size they had, which was just massive, but I had long hair. So I was like, oh no, it fits. And I don't think I ever wore the hat again. The t-shirt I've still got somewhere at home. But that was just like the feeling of going there. And I thought it was so cool. No matter how rude the chick working there was, which I've never forgotten, I still thought that was so fucking cool. And that's the feeling I want to give other kids, adult, I don't care, fuck who it is. Give people that feeling. And that's the thing, when they get our online order, when they open that product and put it on, you want them to feel invincible. You want them to be like, you're unfucking beatable. Because unfortunately, in the modern day, a lot of people don't feel like that. So if we can just do one small bit of positive effect on someone's life, that's the best release we've done. As opposed to one specific design. We've never been a brand with a hero or champion product that we've just leveraged off the whole time. It's always been a consistent growth and upwards trend. Thankfully, thank God there's been an upwards trend. But there's always been consistent change and consistent improvement as opposed to just hanging out on one thing. So I think that's the best way to sort of summarize how we are. It'd be great, obviously, to find eventually that product that goes bananas, which I'm sure we will. We always have things that are big hits, but it's always also been about the constant progression and constant change over time. And then seeing how people react to that, that's the most fulfilling thing, I suppose, as to, this one, people feel like one specific thing is irrelevant. It's like, what's your body of work is more important. No one remembers one little thing. Like, no one remembers Michael Jordan for one shot. They remember him for his career. And for us, that's the way I love thinking about the business and life is you can fuck as many things as you want up. You can do as well as many times as you want. No one's going to remember the one specific. Of course, the specific things get remembered, but it's the whole body of work, your career, your life is what people will remember you for. So that's why I'm a little bit more thick-skinned when I come to people saying shit or this. I'm like, I'll come back in 10 years and we'll see. That's, I think, for us has always been the mentality because it's slow and steady wins the race, and trying to always think as long-term as possible because I always make decisions where I want it now, but it's always trying to think long-term as opposed to making rapid decisions. And my creative director, who I work the closely with everyone out of business, well, I'm sure will say, "Can't you fucking go berserk every day?" But the long-term goal is obviously where we want to get the business to one of the biggest brands in the world. That's always the long-term goal. It's just what are the little compounding things that can help get there. But yeah, I suppose that's my long-winded answer to what's the number one design.
No, man, I appreciate it so much. Is there anything else that you want to add or share?
No, fuck, I think that was quite a lot, eh? I went off on a few various tangents then.
I think we both really appreciate your authenticity and vulnerability with everything. Like,
You think that's enough?
it's amazing. Like you're so yourself, and I love it. And
I don't really think it's that amazing. When you're hearing yourself talk, I'm just like, fuck.
no, I think
When I'm talking, I think it's fine. But then I've watched a few interviews I've done, I might immediately turn it off. I hate it.
It's just one of those things.
Yeah, listening to yourself is just like, when you get other people saying it's cool, I'm like, yeah, that's good. But like, I've done a few podcasts and I just refuse them generally, or I refuse to listen to them back. So I'm just like, it's fucking painful.
Yeah, but no, I think like in terms of this format, like you mentioned, you have a child, and like the idea of your child listening to this when they're 20
It's wild.
is like you've just sat here at this point in your time and gone through your entire life, and like for your kid,
I wish I remembered more of being a kid, eh? Like, do you guys remember when you were 0 to 5?
I have like a few vague memories, but like just stories.
Yeah, I have
bits
like
and
specific
pieces, and then primary school I remember a lot more. High school I remember
It's like when
most
you
of.
see items, like we're watching like home videos.
Yeah,
at
you
home,
see- yes,
you see an
yeah.
item,
Yeah.
and then
Oh,
it takes-
Yeah, I've had that where my parents have showed videos and like, yeah, I remember exactly what's happened. Yeah.
But yeah, it's just that idea of like you really gave yourself to that and like didn't hold back on anything.
Yeah.
And-
Actually, have one question around that
Yeah.
fatherhood.
Yep.
Just one last question is, obviously as a business owner, like leadership is one of the most important roles that you have. I feel like most people would say an important aspect of fatherhood is also leadership. So how do you want to lead as a father?
I've been a father for years, brother. I've had enough staff to know what a father does. No, it's like, I mean, again, it's learning on the job. It's experience. That's all. Like, everyone can read as many books as great. It's great to learn. You got to do it. And that's the thing is like especially in, I mean, I'll go back to business, unfortunately. Don't learn business from someone who hasn't fucking done it. Learn from someone who's done it better than you. And like, that's the modern day age is brands or sports. Like, again, I'm not saying you can't learn stuff from people who haven't done it. But to me, my greatest resource would be someone who's done what I've done. Again, you can't just copy what they've done because that's their path. But to me, experience is the number one thing. And like, again, I've done these talks before, and I know half these cunts they don't give a fuck. They're just, oh wow, he's got a cool brand. They don't give a fuck about what I'm saying. When you get older, you realize that, yeah, maybe they do, because the experience is what has shaped their opinion generally, and experience is the number one thing that generally, to me, trumps over a lot of stuff.
Who is that in a fatherhood sense for you?
Well, in terms of a father, it's like, for me, as in me as a dad or my dad?
So like you're speaking from who, like learning from people who have experience.
I mean, for me, it's people you're around, or it's mates, the internet, like,
who are also fathers.
yeah, it's like, again, you can see, oh, that person looks like a good dad. You don't know what's going on behind closed doors. That's the problem. It's like, yeah, I said the internet, like, internet's fake generally. Again, it's great meeting authentic people, and like, no matter how authentic they might be in front of a camera or somewhere you see them, what goes on behind closed doors? You always see people, the people you never thought that were going to separate, or they're never going to have something bad happen, and then bad things happen, or relationships break up. That's always the case. Again, it's the consistency in like a body of work. It's who's done it, who's been a good person for X amount of time and got to the point where they want to be. That's the most important thing. And as a dad, for me, it's learning on the job. It's not trying to work out who is the best dad and copy them. My kid's not going to be the same as their kid. I want my kid to be who I want him to be, and he can be who he wants to be. If whatever again, I'm not going to force him to play soccer or force him to fight. You can direct him where you want to go, but then he makes his own choices. Obviously, until he's 18, we help guide those choices and shape him into who we think he should be based on our learned experiences, myself and my wife, and then our grandparents. Again, who you're around is generally who you become. So we can give him the best possible platform. Again, that's not just money, it's experience. Who's got the best life experience to help shape that person to be who they were, because you see how money negatively affects so many people. And like, again, you look at things in society, it's the richest people aren't the best people, and the best people aren't the richest. It's all about sort of being yourself and then understanding yourself. And I think as a dad, the most important thing for me will be trying to, one, articulate who I am to him, which I'm not the best at articulating. Because again, it's easy to sit and try to recite things on the go. You're on the fly. You have to, Dad, what's this? Oh, fuck. Can't sit and think of an answer. You have to answer and then work it out and then go back forward and all those sort of things.
Yeah, it's cool to think though that he'll have this to be able to watch one.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, hopefully he likes it. That's the main thing.
Yeah, but at least he'll know your intention.
Yeah, correct. I mean, I suppose this day and age, everything's media. So like we'll see where we are in 15 years when he's an adult.
Yeah. Digital footprints are a weird thing to think about, hey?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can't even remember. I didn't know my MySpace still exists, and that was when I was young. MySpace was the thing. Yeah, it's wild. Like, from when we were, how old am I? I'm 34. From when I was 15 to now, it's a different world.
Night and day.
Yeah.
Night and day. But yeah, no, we appreciate your time and appreciate your story. It's so interesting just learning how people got to where they are.